Welcome to Explainer Insight. Today, I'm going to explain 2015 drama film called The Dressmaker. The movie opens up in 1926 in a small Australian town of Dunkerton. A 10-year-old schoolgirl, Tilly, has been accused of murdering her classmate, Stuart. The little girl tries to claim her innocence, but sadly she is exiled from the town by the local police sergeant Ferrer. After 25 years, Tilly returns to the town as an accomplished dressmaker before she enters her house. Tilly bumps into Sergeant Ferrer, and the two have a short conversation before departing. The sergeant admires her dress and appearance. When Tilly enters her house, she finds it in filthy condition. It turns out that after Tilly was sent away, her mother, Molly, became mentally unstable and has been living on her own. Tilly has come back to her hometown to take care of her sick mother, but she also has another purpose. Although Tilly was accused of the murder, she can't remember what happened that day. So, she asks her mother. She remembers anything about the incident, but Molly can't even remember her own daughter. The next day, Tilly cleans the house and gives her right mother a bath. Soon, the news of Tilly's arrival spreads throughout the town. They are not happy that she is back. The next day we see some young guitar boys playing a football match against another town. When a gorgeous Tilly arrives at the game in her red dress, the Dunkerton boys become distracted, so their team captain Teddy confronts Tilly and asks her not to distract the boys when he explains how important it is for them to win. Tilly walks away, however, just a few moments later, she arrives again. This time she's wearing a black dress, which is even more stunning. Outside, she finds her childhood friend Gertrude, who has mediocre looks and lacks fashion sense, standing alone and depressed. Gertrude has a crush on William, a good-looking and prosperous man. However, he doesn't even notice her since she's so plain. Sensing Gertrude's desire to be with William, Tilly offers to make her a dress for the footballers' dance party. When Gertrude says a dress can't change anything, Tilly tells her to watch and learn as she goes near the football field. She then reveals some skin and distracts the opposing team. As a result, the Dunga boys win later that day. Tilly and her mom visited an old lady named Irma, who has been sending food to Molly all these years. Meanwhile, Tilly sees the schoolhouse where Stuart died. She goes inside and remembers how Stuart bullied her and she climbed in a tower to hide. When she saw Gertrude, she asked for help, but the latter simply walked away. Afterwards, when Tilly climbed down, Stuart covered her mouth with his hand, dragged her to a corner and pressed her against the wall. He then threatened to kill Tilly and her mother. Despite recalling most of the incident, she can't remember how Stuart died that night at home. Tilly explains her accomplishments as a dressmaker. She also tries to make her mother remember the murder, but her efforts are in vain. Just then, their conversation is interrupted by Gertrude, who asks Tilly to design a dress for her. Tilly agrees, but in exchange, she asked if Gertrude told Stuart where she was hiding back then. Stuart also bullied Gertrude, and she reveals that she told him where Tilly was to protect herself the following day. Tilly bumps into Teddy, who immediately starts flirting with her. He also invites her to the footballers' dance party. However, Tilly declined, saying she's busy. Later that evening, Sergeant Ferrer arrives at Tilly's house when he goes through her fabrics. His feminine side is revealed. Turns out Ferrer loves to design and sew women's clothes. He also loves to wear them for art. Confesses that he exiled Tilly because Stuart's father, Evan, a town councillor, threatened to expose him as a cross-dresser if he didn't send Tilly away. Surprisingly, instead of being angry, Tilly thanks him for his honesty and the two become friends over their shared passion for designer clothes. On Saturday, during the footballers' dance party, Gertrude's dress, which is designed by Tilly, captures everyone's attention, including her crush William. Meanwhile, instead of attending the dance party, Tilly, Teddy and Molly go to a movie. After the movie, Teddy takes the mother-daughter duo home when Molly insists he stay for tea. He agrees and starts chatting with Tilly. She excitedly tells him about all the countries she went to for work. However, she gets upset when she explains that she and her mother are hated by the townspeople who will not forgive her for Stuart's death. Teddy comforts her, saying that people are ruthless because they even tried to take his brother Barney away just for being different as the two bond. Teddy confesses his feelings for Tilly, but she walks away, saying she has to put her mother to bed. The next day, the ladies who have been spellbound by Gertrude's transformation arrive at Tilly's and ask her to make dresses for them. Soon, the whole town is buzzing about Tilly's dressmaking skills. Meanwhile, an envious Evan hires Una, another dressmaker, to end Tilly's business. However, the plan fails when Gertrude asks Tilly to make her an elegant wedding dress since Una made an awful one. In the next scene, Teddy tells Tilly that a skillful and accomplished person like her shouldn't be wasting her life in such a small town with people who live there. He suggests that she run away with him and leave Dunkerton. As he talks, he gets close to Tilly and kisses her. However, she suppresses her feelings for him and mentions that she is cursed. The next day, William, who's getting married to Gertrude, asks Teddy to be his best man, and the latter agrees. He then visits Tilly and asks her to make a soup for him while taking the measurements for the soup. The two of them get too close and end up kissing elsewhere. Una is devastated that all her customers have left her fertility. Meanwhile, Evan consoles her, and here it's revealed that the two are having an affair. Evan's wife, Marigold, sees them together from a window and goes to Tilly's house to make a dress for herself while they talk. We find out that Marigold thinks her son Stuart fell from a tree and that she is unaware of the rumor that Tilly killed Stuart. When Marigold mentions that Beulah, Tilly's former school teacher, was apparently the one who witnessed Stuart's death, Tilly suspects that she was deceived. Immediately, she goes to Virat and bribes him with a feather boa to get Ula's witness statement. Then she confronts Beulah and yells at her for giving a false statement. Initially, Beulah tries to stick with her original statement, but when Tilly threatens to sue her, she gets scared and admits that she wasn't present for the incident. Turns out that Beulah arrived after Stuart's death and blamed Tilly, fearing that Evan would accuse her. After Tilly leaves, Beulah goes to the wedding and tells Marigold that her son didn't die accidentally, but that he was killed by Tilly. Meanwhile, Tilly arrives at the wedding and tells Firat that Pulla's statement was false. When she questions Firat why Evan wanted to send her away, he answers that Evan had parental rights. It turns out that Evan is Tilly's father. Just then, Marigold breaks down and accuses Tilly of being a murderer. She tries to explain herself, but Evan starts yelling at her. This makes Teddy mad, and he almost gets into a fight with Evan. A devastated Tilly then begs for Art to tell everyone that she isn't a murderer. However, he says that his statement will not matter, as everyone in town had an alibi until he was the only one standing near Stuart's body. Enraged, Tilly leaves and Teddy, Molly and Barney follow her on the way. Barney hysterically shouts that Tilly moved when she leaves them behind. Barney shouts that he saw Stuart do it to himself. Afterwards, Teddy takes Tilly to the schoolhouse and recalls the events of that tragic night. Then he comforts her by saying that she didn't kill Stuart. Teddy reminds her that Stuart used to run out of their kids like he was a bull and hit them in their stomachs. Suddenly, Tilly remembers that she moved when Stuart ran like a bull to hit her stomach, causing him to hit his head on the wall. The impact broke his neck and killed him instantly. Furthermore, Teddy tells her that Barney witnessed everything from the top of the silo but was afraid to speak up because people would think he's a lunatic. After learning the truth, Tilly burst into tears and Teddy comforts her that night. Teddy, until he spend the night together and make love. Later they go and sit on the top of the same silo. When Teddy asks Tilly to marry him, she once again hesitates and mentions that she is cursed. Hearing this, Teddy mentions that he doesn't believe in curses and he wants to prove to Tilly that it's only her delusion, although she tries to stop him. Teddy jumps into the silo. Sadly, the silo is filled with grain and he suffocates to his death. After Teddy's death, Tilly meets his mother and helps her at the funeral. A few days later, Molly goes to a grocery store where a bunch of women accuse Tilly of Teddy's murder and call her cursed. Enraged, Molly silences them, saying Teddy died, trying to prove that his love for Tilly was stronger than the townspeople's hate. Back in the house, Molly wakes up Tilly, who is shattered after Teddy's death, and tries to help her overcome the pain. Since Molly has almost fully recovered, she starts revealing her past. She met Evan when she was 20 and got pregnant with him. However, the two didn't get married, as all Evan ever wanted was a son when his wish wasn't fulfilled. He discarded Molly and married the wealthy Miracle. The next day, Gertrude and her mother-in-law arrive at Tilly's house, asking her to make costumes for them for a drama competition. However, Tilly throws them out of the house, saying that she'd rather die than make costumes for selfish people like them after they leave. Molly encourages her daughter to use her extraordinary dressmaking talent against the townspeople and says she has a plan for her. Later, Molly visits her friend Irma and asks her to drop a letter to the post office, since the townspeople will not allow her to send it. Turns out she is sending a letter to the opponent team of the drama competition on behalf of Tilly. Before leaving, she gives the box of hash browns east to Irma on her way back home. Molly suffers a stroke and dies. This plunges Tilly into further depression, and that night she drinks heavily with Farah. Meanwhile, Beulah is keeping an eye on them from nearby, unaware of Billy's presence. Tilly throws a record player outside the house and ends up hitting her head. The next day she hops on a train to Melbourne thinking that she's heading to get treatment. But in reality Bharat is sending her to an asylum. Following that almanac, the town chemist who mistreated Tilly as a child drowns in a pond behind his house since his wife Arm is under the influence of hash brownies baked by Molly. She is not able to save him. When the chemist's assistant realizes the brownies were baked at Tilly's house, she blames her for almanac death. Once again, everyone turns against Tilly. But this time Sergeant Virat arrives in her defense and takes the blame himself. As a result, he is exiled from the town. The next day Tilly goes to meet Marigold and reveals everything about Evan's extramarital affairs. This enrages Marigold, and when Evan arrives, she cuts his leg with a knife and leaves him to die. In the meantime, the opponent team from the drama competition arrives at Tilly's house, saying they accept her extravagant terms mentioned in the letter because she's the best. When Tilly looks at the letter, she realizes that her mother did all this for her, so she agrees to work for them and make them win the competition. A few days later, the townspeople leave on guitar to attend the drama competition. There they realize that Tilly made their opponents' costumes back in Dunkerton. Tilly is alone and is about to leave the town forever. Before leaving, she sets her house on fire and rolls a red fabric soaked in gasoline to the center of the town. She states that she's no longer cursed and leaves for Paris on a train. The movie ends when the people have to return after losing the competition to add to their misery. The whole town has been reduced to ashes. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to explain your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.